All right, Dominic. Go ahead and say your first last name for me.
My first name is Dominic, and my last name is Selga. You need me to spell it? It's Dominic. Last name is Selga, Selga.
And how are you related again? If you're in the family?
So my mother was on that ship, Fernisa, and then my stepfather, Michael, and his 3 daughters, my 3 stepsisters, were all on that ship. And there's one other surviving sister. She lives in San Diego, so she's down there. So myself and Nisa are related to Fernisa. She's our mother.
So tell us how you first heard about this.
Christina, the surviving daughter from San Diego, called me up in the morning of Labor Day, asking me if I knew the ship's name, the boat's name, and from Truth Aquatics, and I didn't know. And I was just like, why are you asking me that? And she was telling me, that's why she was calling me, to tell me about this stuff. She was like, oh, there's not good news about a boat, it caught on fire, and it's from Truth Aquatics. And she believed that, highly believed that it was the boat that they were on. So she wanted me to confirm, like, tell her a name of the boat, and I couldn't, because I didn't know. So, I told her I'll go look through the emails or whatever I can. And so I called my sister up right away, and she lives here, and I live only a few houses down. So I walked over, and we went through all her stuff frantically, trying to look for, all through Michael's stuff and the garbage and just papers and whatever we could find. And we couldn't find anything, so we never could confirm what boat they're on until a little bit later when we were going through social media, and one of the sisters had hashtagged the conception on her post. And so that's how we found out that it was, in fact, the conception that burned down, and that was the boat they were on.
And when you saw that, what went through your mind?
Fear and hope at the same time, and just franticness. I was just looking at the Truth Aquatics website and hoping that they'd have a different boat scheduled for that same time they had left, and then I went through their schedule, and I was hoping it was another boat. Not that I was hoping that it was other people that it's happened to, but just hoping that it wasn't them. And the only boat that matched up to when they left and when they were supposed to come back was the conception. So for us, in our hearts, we had known that that was the boat, and just being, we just kept that 1% no matter what. It was always that 1% we held on to, and hoped that that something could happen. They could have swam to the shore or whatever. And knowing that boat and what they go through and what they do, because we've been on that boat, we know that's almost impossible in those frigid, like pretty cold temps, like 50 degrees. Trying to swim in the dark is not easy. Nothing around, no lights. There's no street lights. There's no light pollution. So it's just black, and you'd only see the stars if the stars are out. So just knowing all of that, we just we knew that it was the case, but in our heart, and like we wanted to hold on to that hope. My sister and I, we just had to wait and wait and wait. We called the Coast Guard. We called everybody who we thought we could call, and we tried and waited for people to call us back. Eventually, the detective called me from the sheriff's county detective or something down there, and said she couldn't tell me, couldn't confirm anything. No one can really give any information out because it's for whatever, legal reasons, or maybe just to make sure that everything's properly given out information-wise, so that you're not giving people wrong information and saying this, yes, that was the boat, and in fact it wasn't. So I don't know. They didn't give me any information, so we had to figure it out, like I said, through the social media thing, and that's how we did it. So.
And what can you tell us about your mom and her husband?
Well, my mom just an amazing person, you know, selfless, kind, giving. She did so much for so many people. She was a nurse practitioner at multiple hospitals, at St. Joseph's and here in Stockton and Kaiser, and touched so many lives, you know, and took so many family members in if they had issues throughout the years, you know, and helped raise them as well. It wasn't just, she just touched so many people, friends, family, strangers, you know. She was that person that you could go to and confide in, and she always had a positive impact on people. You know, there's so many stories and outpouring of people who, my sister and I are getting, you know, comments, or people are talking to us and sending their condolences and talking about their stories with my mom and how she's touched their lives and whatnot, and so she's just an amazing person. And Mike, you know, they were great together. Mike was an awesome, respectable man. He was like, he wasn't a man of much words, but his actions spoke for him. You know, he did everything, anything you'd ask him. He's just, anything my mom would need or want, or, you know, he would be ahead of it before she could even ask for it, you know, or
kind of read her mind.
Right, and he was just an amazing guy, man. He did the same thing. He was also a nurse, you know, and he touched so many lives. And I have so many patients who I deal with, you know, I'm a nurse, so that they come to me and say, oh, you know Michael, he's your dad, you know, like, yeah, I know, love that guy, he was amazing, you know, he took care of me, he started my IVs, he's just the best. And so, you know, those two are just some of the biggest players in both of our lives, and they're gonna be, you know, so missed. They are so missed in the community as well. You know, the hospitals have reached out to me, and they've set up prayers and, you know, community meeting like events where the employees in the hospitals that they worked with, they were sad and they were crying and having breakdowns, and so the hospitals would reach out to me and say, is it okay if we do these things? And I said, of course it is, you know, to set these times of meetings and prayer and whatever, however they wanted to, you know, to have that outlet of remembering them and having that common ground of these people affected our lives in some way. You know, I worked with them, I loved them, they've traded stories, you know, we did so many things together. So they've touched so many lives, you know. Yeah, so many lives.
And I understand that scuba diving tied both families together. How did that come about?
Right, so Michael used to he scuba dove like a long time ago, before he even met us and my mom. Well, maybe, I don't know if it was before he met Mom, but like sometime before they were a couple, you know. And then he got away from it because he had raised his helped raise his 4 daughters, and then as the children of both families became of age, you know, graduating high school and whatnot, and then they finally kind of got together, and then the scuba diving, Mike loved it so much, he wanted to get back into doing things that he loved, you know, now that the kids are older, and let's travel, let's do things that make us happy, you know. And scuba diving has always been a passion of his, like a huge passion. If you look in his garage, you see like half of it's full of scuba diving equipment. It's just like, he loved it. He talked about it. He always scheduled scuba diving events, cold water, hot water, no matter what it was. He loved it. And so we all followed in on that, you know. All of us got our certificates for scuba diving. So we're all certified, myself, my sister, my 4 other sisters, my wife, obviously my mom and Mike. So we all would take trips, even just around the world, and scuba dive together, you know. And so this boat, that we're on, we've all been on it. We've all dove off of that boat, sat down in that galley, ate the food, and saw the sceneries, and, you know, slept in the bunks down there, you know, everything. So we've been on that exact ship. So the only, piece that that we get out of it is that they were doing something that they love to do, and they had each other. You know.
So you have, as far as the boat and the crew, what are your thoughts on how they ran their business?
Well, we all thought they were amazing. They're super friendly, nice people. Seemed like when it come down to it, like every time they do the safety meeting in the morning before you left, they took it super serious. And so, everyone's quiet, listen to the safety meeting before you leave, and who's in charge and who to go to and what to do in certain things, but never in a fire. They never talked about fire. That's just something I don't even think they'd even have on their minds, honestly, but just like safety in diving situations, not necessarily safety in what happens if the boat catches on fire. That's insane but the crew was amazing. They were always amazing. We've gone multiple times. Mike is pretty much an annual trip that they make around this time of year, because the biggest reason why they even scheduled it kind of right now is because Mike's birthday is tomorrow. And so this trip was, he'd go the trip and then he'd be back, and then we can then celebrate, even more of his birthday. And so that was like one of the reasons why they're doing it, and just to do something they love to, together.
From what you understand, what you've read and heard as regarding what happened, do you feel that the crew did everything they could to
Well,
save lives?
it's hard to say, because everyone's in, like when I first initially saw it, like 5 crew members jumped off the side of the boat. That's just horrendous to hear. Like, you just left them. But I mean, you have to think about it. I had to think about it and say, if I was in their situation, if I was in that crew, and they sleep in the middle deck, the crew. Most of this crew is what I remember the last time I was there. And so like the captain and like the crew would sleep in the middle deck. I think.
The top?
No, the middle, because there's the middle, and then there's the lower, and then there's the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the top where you just kind of, it's like a visual, where you look at a lookout thing. But the middle, wasn't it the middle where the captain stayed, or the top is where the captain
I
stayed?
think it was the top.
Either way, the crew pretty much stayed up, and then the everybody else would stay on the bottom, where the bunks are. So I mean, I don't know how the fire started. I don't know, where in the boat, 'cause I know there's the engine room. It's in the back of the boat, kind of down under, where you'd store like your suits and stuff to dry. But if that fire started and everyone was sleeping, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. For all we know, it could have been smoldering, whatever it is, for an hour before it even really engulfed or whatnot, and it could have been asleep, and then all of a sudden everything's on fire, and waking up to that, like, what do we do? What do we do? Maybe they looked to see if they could save anybody, but maybe those flames coming out the door, the stairs where where the people were, I have no clue. I do know that when you come up the stairs at the kitchen, it's like right there. So you come up the stairs from the bottom bunks, and the kitchen area where they cook, the food and stuff is right there. And so like combustible materials, like a stove, I mean and of course there's fuel in the boat, but I wouldn't say any of the scuba tanks, because those are just compressed air. They're not compressed oxygen. And then possibly like maybe, like I've been saying this whole time, is maybe because at airports they ban lithium batteries and cell phones and certain things, and I don't really know, but I just know that I just try to think of everything, and it's just, so the crew leaving them behind, it had to have been a last-ditch effort. I mean, in my mind, that's what I want to believe, is like everything was already too late by that point. I'm hoping that they'd get to do everything they could, because I know there's a dinghy on the back of the boat. They use that boat to save divers, or to gather up divers that weren't strong enough to swim back to the boat if they're carried off in the current underneath while they're diving. So they'd use that dinghy to just round them up and kind of, if they needed assistance, and bring them back to the boat. So, you know, obviously that's a separate thing, so you could jump on that, but I don't know if they, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where the fire was, where they were as opposed to the fire, if they could get around it to get to the area where they needed to get to, or what. Because I know there's the stairway to get up out, and there's a hatch, like another hatch, a small, like a very kind of a small tight hatch that you can get out of when you're down there, you know, in the bunks. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna say, you know, they should have did more or whatever. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know. I know the crew changes and everything, but the crews that I've ever dealt with, they were great people. You know, I would think they'd do everything they could to save as many people as they could, you know. I can't see 5 people just leaving 30 something people down there to just perish and not try something or believe that it's just impossible, you know. It's like, I can't think that. I mean, I thought that, but I can't continually think that, you know.
Right.
If I think about logically.
Right. So the investigation plays out.
Right.
I don't know. Do you have any questions for Pat?
Yeah. Do you want it on your? I need to. Do you want his eyes are gonna shift or?
Do you want to come over where I'm at? Go ahead. And then I haven't talked to Lucy yet. So go ahead.
Got a funky glare. I actually have to be. Why don't
You know
you
what? Why
You
finish?
can switch over here if you
We can
want.
switch.
Do you mind just? Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you. And I'm gonna go down a little bit. So thank you. So I'm gonna repeat a couple questions. Okay.
Okay.
The first, like I said, thank you. First one is say and spell your first and last name.
First name's Dominic,
Oh,
D.
1 second, I'm sorry. Okay.
All right, so my first name is Dominic, Dominic. Last name Selga, Selga.
Okay. And you live in Stockton, California.
Correct.
Okay. And you're a scuba diver?
Correct.
So can you just tell me, how did you find out about this tragedy?
I found out initially from my sister in SoCal, my stepsister, and she called me up stating that a boat had been on the news that was burning and had burned down at 3 o'clock this morning, and she had asked me if I knew the name of the boat, and I didn't, so I was kind of frantically trying to find out what boat. Did they send me an email? Did they send me a text which would have told me about that boat? And so I couldn't find anything, so I went to my sister right away, who lives down the street with Mike and my mom, Fern. And so we're looking together to find out which boat they're on, to verify if it was the one that had burned down or not. And come to find out, you know, it was a social media post by one of our sisters, you know, our stepsisters, that posted hashtag Conception, or Truth Aquatics Conception, which is the boat that had burned down. So that's how we found out, because none of the law enforcement could tell us anything just yet.
So can you please tell me what family members were on the boat?
Sure. So it was my mom, Fernisa Season, and then my stepdad, Michael Quidasol, and his 3 daughters, my stepsisters, Angela Quidasol, Evan Quidasol, and Nicole Quidasol. So 5 of them were on the boat for this 3-day diving trip.
And when it was confirmed, how do you feel? What goes through your head? How do you process this?
Well, I mean, truthfully, it's only by our confirmation that has been, no one's contacted us. I mean, there's been a contact from a detective who's told me, you know, the manifest will come out, but that was today, and but she would never tell me, you know, like, or answer my questions. It had to be through some kind of media, I guess. I don't know. So the only way I knew for sure was my own verification of like that message, and then And then the fact that my mom hasn't texted or called me today at all, and she would definitely have done that. So we were holding on to that 1%, like I was telling him, that 1% of hoping they were alive and hoping that wasn't the boat they're on. But when it was confirmed, it felt terrible, in our hearts. It's just terrible, Good people, too young, Never thought I'd have to. I knew I'd have to do this with my mom at some point in life, but not this soon. I mean, she has 2 surviving grandchildren. My kids are 5 and 3, and she was the world to them. So it was devastating.
So I find it fascinating. You were on that boat.
Yeah.
That exact boat.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about that boat?
Boat. It was always a good time on that boat. Crew was good. Had made a lot of memories there. So just thinking like that they were there and I was there. We've been there. My sister and I have been there. Our whole family pretty much has been on that boat. Yeah. So it's just insane to think this happened. I don't know why this boat's so old, and I wouldn't think, and it's all up to code and everything according to all the posts by the news and stuff. So, and the Coast Guard or whatnot, and you just never think something like this would happen.
So do you run through your mind, right? Like, I slept down there. I walked up those stairs to get to the top of
Yeah,
the boat to
no,
get to
I've
the deck.
definitely ran through my mind. Last night trying to sleep, very difficult. Thinking about if I was in their situation, what could have been different? Like, what did they wake up to? Like I was talking to my family, did they wake up at all during the whole process? Did they have smoke? Was there fire? Was there water? Was there all of the above? It's just hard to think about that. Yes, I have been on that boat, and I could have been on that boat, and more of us could have been on that boat, during this trip. But it's something that plays in your mind over and over and over and over and over, and you try your best, to deal with it, hoping that they died in the most peaceful way. But just like thinking about that is very difficult. Being burned alive or burning while drowning, while inhaling smoke, that's insane. It's just something you'd see in a movie, not something that I'd know that would happen in your own life, to your own family. It's heartbreaking,
You're very brave. You're strong.
We try.
Do you have a message to the other families who are experiencing their loss and you're being brought together by
Yeah.
a horrible tragedy? Do you have?
My heart goes out to all the other family members. I really want to say, that I have a lot of love for Christina and the surviving daughter that is down in San Diego right now, and I feel terrible that I can't be there to give her a hug and be with her, and I wish I could be there to support her. But to the other families out there who are dealing with this, I know there was obviously quite a few families, different. Even like I read that there was a 17-year-old celebrating her birthday. I'm not for sure if that's true, but I read that and I'm like, that is just tragic. And so, just keep your head up the best you can. I mean, we're trying to deal with it. Even though we're in disbelief, we still just try to, at least keep the thought of they were doing something that they loved, with somebody that they loved, with people that they loved, and so they're, living life. And that's all I could, just keep your head up. Obviously, you're going to go through some things, just like we're it's only the second day for us to find out about this, and she's the biggest player in our life, so I'm sure a lot of family members that have, passed away during this event are big players in other families' lives. So you just try to stay strong, but go through your grieving process. You have to. I mean, this is my second time this year alone that I've gone through this. My mom's a twin, and her sister, my auntie, passed away just within a year, not from diving, but something else. And that was her twin sister. And so, going through that process and then having to go through it again with your own mother and your stepdad, who you're so close to, and sisters, like, it's really hard. I try to keep it together. You're gonna have those moments. You're gonna have those moments where you're gonna break down. I'll be in the shower. I'll just taking a shower, and you just break down. You'll be doing something, see a picture, think of some memory, and you'll break down. But you just keep going. Keep your head up, and make sure that you keep yourself sane. Because a lot of people can go into a depression, and you just keep your head up. Just surround yourself with people that love you, and know that there's people that love you and will help you get through it, and just that's what I would have to say, to all the survivors, the people who are survived, or have survived the people who have perished in this craziness. So I just wish the best for them. I hope they can do those things.
All right, Nisa, go ahead and say your first and last name.
Nisa, Nisa, Shinagawa, Shinagawa.
In your words, what are your thoughts on this happening to your family?
Disbelief, initial feeling, and shock. We've had a lot of loss in our family within the last year or so. Our uncle, our aunt, and then and it was all unexpected loss, not of old age or anything like that. So our family's been through a lot.
What Dominic mentioned, what happened to your aunt? If you want to share,
Well, to be honest, I don't know.
You said your mom lost her sister.
She was found, passed away,
Oh, okay.
by her son in December.
Okay.
Yeah, and then our uncle, back in last August, had a spearfishing accident in Monterey. So, a lot of things.
One more question. What is the legacy you want people to know about your mom?
I hope that they know what a good person she was and how hardworking she was, and for anybody that knew her, that she probably cared so much about you and that she loved you, and if you met her and you experienced that, then you knew. Like, she didn't have to tell you that she loved you. In order for you to know, you felt it. And I know a lot of people are hurting like we are, and we've got a lot of people reaching out to us, and I really appreciate it. She was a really amazing person. She was smart and loving and worked her ass off for her entire life. She was a single mom and raised us worked really hard to go back to school and become a nurse and put us through school and even put herself through more school. She got her master's and she was working on her doctorate. She was really close to finishing. So.
What did she want to end up doing with the doctorate?
She was going to get her doctorate in nursing, and so that would just give her the ability to a little bit more autonomy and freedom in her practice. She works in the chronic conditions section of Kaiser with heart failure patients.
How many years of being a nurse?
Oh, she's been a nurse since
95.
Yeah,
How long?
1995.
Okay.
She got her master's, I don't know, what year was that? I was little still.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's been
She's had
almost 20
decades.
Years, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
So what did you say, RN?
She was a RN, and then she got her master's, so she was working as a nurse practitioner
Okay.
for a long time now, well over a decade. So.
And did she grow up here?
Yeah, she was born in Bakersfield, but she grew up here in Stockton.
How long did she, she grew up, when did she leave Bakersfield? What age?
I think she was a baby. She was little. And then she started going, she went to elementary school here in Stockton. She went to high school.
So my kids live in Bakersfield.